Hello and welcome to my channel. And I assume that if you are here because you are a parent who is estranged from their adult child. And welcome. I want this place to be a warm, safe environment. There will be no adult children who are estranged from parents or otherwise um, allowed on this channel. We don't want to be judged under their microscope. We don't want to be judged. We want to talk about things freely. And if you look at my very first introductory video, it really gives you a rundown of how I feel about this situation, how I want us to be able to say the things that can't be said out loud because society has set us up as, well, we're the parents, especially in particular, the moms. The moms are never supposed to say that they're angry or furious or hate. They're never supposed to say that they want to walk away, that they give up, that they maybe their feelings have changed about their child, because society has told us for far too long that we are to stay in this situation, even though we are, and I say this in my introductory video, I fully believe that this is um, emotional and oftentimes verbal abuse, and we wouldn't give any other person in any other type of situation the advice to stay and be abused. Today I'm going to talk to you about the estrangement with my second child. I have 4 children. I am estranged from 3. One of them, one of my children still happens to live with me, so crossing my fingers that I don't go through this again. He's in a really tough position because he wants to have a relationship with his siblings, and also understands and sees what we're going through. So my oldest daughter is 30 years old. She just turned 30 in November. We were so excited to have a girl. I wanted a girl so bad I can't even begin to tell you. I had grown up in an abusive home, and maybe someday we'll talk about that. But I wanted to have this little girl that I could do the things with that, you know, I wished that I had had, at tea parties and just talking while you're driving and having those really deep conversations, that you can have. And, the whole being really close to my daughter, and someday she's going to be an adult and we'll still be parent and child, but we'll kind of move on to a situation where I'm not parenting her, um, and I can be here for advice if she wants, but we'll be in a different kind of a friend like relationship. And anyway, so we got the baby girl, and she was 6 pounds 2 ounces of pure beauty. Um, she when she became around 18 months, we eventually found out that what she was doing was showing signs of uh, Tourette's, and OCD is a kind of an offshoot tick of Tourette's. So it became very difficult because she wouldn't let us like tie her shoes, um, or she had to have her hair a certain way. There could not be a flyaway hair, and she would have these fits. We eventually found out that this stemmed from the fact that she had Tourette syndrome, which I started sort of thinking when she was pretty young. She would kind of do these vocal tics, shout we went to a restaurant one day where the person cooking is kind of up front, and she did this squeal loud that she did and scared the guy so bad that he dropped his cooking utensils. So I started thinking, um, maybe she has Tourette's. So anyway, um, if you watched the last video, um, you'll see that I'm estranged from my oldest child, who is her brother. Um, we had a we had a relationship that was at one time, in one hand, very close. I had always given my children um, the ability to come and talk to me about anything. Anything. It didn't matter. I told them, I mean, I grew up in the 80s. Probably anything that you've gone through or going through isn't going to make me clutch my pearls. So please come tell me anything. And we were able to do that. At the same time, she was verbally abusive. She eventually became physically abusive. Um, and that was uh, that was very hard. My husband had been traveling for work, so he was only able to come home a couple times a month. And so basically, I was left there, taking care of the children, and so I was not just the mom figure. I was also the sole disciplinary figure, I guess. I would call him, obviously, I would call him, tell him what was happening, and we would come to a consensus on what should be said or um, what should be done. And then I would implement that. And I don't know if that, I don't know if that is an underlying thing. I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, she would call me 15 times a day probably, and I was her go-to person to let off steam. She was if she was upset with somebody, which she was um, almost all the time, then it was me that she would go to talk about that, and a whole range of things. But she would share her anger and rage towards me, and she told me once that the way she acted, behaved, and treated me growing up was because she knew that I was the only person who would take that because I'm her mom. So who else can you be physically, verbally abusive that is going to stick around and and still be supportive of you and still love you um, deeply? So um, she wanted to not get in the middle of what had happened with her brother and his wife and us. She didn't want to take a stand. Um, she, I think that because we had been estranged from her brother before, they had been really, really close, even though they're 10 years apart. They had been really, really close. He always called her baby girl. And I don't know because nobody's told me, but I feel like maybe she was not wanting to lose that relationship again. She called my husband one day and we had a conversation. They had a conversation, and he asked her, what is it that your mom can apologize for? What can she make amends for? Think of whatever it is that you have in your heart that you can take to her and let it out. And then he called me and he said, you know, she's going to be calling, and I want you to make it right. And so I had every intention of making it right, and you know, owning up to anything that she had this maybe had this existing hurt over. And so she did call me, and she told me that at one point I had told her that um, if she didn't stop behaving the way she was behaving like having her rage issues, which are verbally and had been to me a couple of times physically abusive, that she wasn't going to find somebody else that was going to be me. And so there's that thing. I I don't remember saying this, but I'm going on what she said, and she said that I had told her that if she was ever to go no contact with me or anything, that I would be suicidal. And like I said, I don't remember saying that, but it's very possible that I did say that. I struggle with depression, anxiety. Um, I have PTSD, and so I apologized for that. You know, like putting that weight on her shoulders. Um, I I think those were the two main things that were her issues. She was upset that um, we had been arguing more recently. She is wanting. She was upset about the way we had spent some money on something, and she is not the kind of person who just keeps her opinions to herself. And so she was, telling me what had upset her, and not an apology for spending our money a certain way, but I told her that that she has the right to have whatever her feelings are, and you know um, okay, um, I understand. I'm the one who told you can come talk to me about anything, and they did, by the way, a lot of everything. Um, we got off the phone. Everything was fine. She called her dad back. She said everything went well. Everything's fine. We're good. And 3 hours later, she called me back, and she was furious. She was mad that I had apologized, saying that I had only apologized to, I don't know what, make the situation go away, maybe. Um, I think was her point. She was screaming at me, screaming at me. She had a very high profile job and was in her office screaming at me. Um, she was verbally abusing me to the point where at one point she was yelling at me, and this is going to sound uh, a 14-year-old me who had a mother who was abusive boiled up and said, "Stop it, Mom." And at that point, I was like, oh, um, this is deep. My psychiatrist gasped when I told her about that and gave me firm instructions to not have contact with my daughter until she did some therapy and things. At one point, she says, "I don't know if I want to have a relationship with you anymore." And after spending, yeah, I I don't know, over an hour, I would say, being screamed at, and that was not an unusual thing for her to be, that um, that um, loud, but it had taken a turn down where I was a shit person, and I treat my kids like shit, and I'm sorry about the cuss words if you're offended by that. I will do that from time to time. So sorry. Um, and I told her that I didn't know. I didn't know either. If I didn't know after all this, I just didn't know. I was clearly um, emotionally and mentally taking this hard. And she had stopped allowing us to see our grandson um, when she first became estranged. This part went over, stretched over about a month. And um, like, he was so special to me. And um, the only grandchild I had close. And then her husband had two other children, a daughter and a son. And the daughter was actually born while my daughter was dating her husband. So we took her in as a newborn, and she was um, family. He had a 9-year-old son. We brought him in as family. The last Christmas we ever had in 2000, it was in 2019. They all three of my youngest kids, their boyfriends or spouse, the kids were all here, and it was magical. It was, sorry, the best Christmas I'd ever had. And I don't know if you're a religious person or a spiritual person or um, somebody who thinks the universe does things, but whatever you think of those, I felt like I had been given that because of what I was going to go through. Sorry. So, um, uh, we that was when our estrangement started. So there's more to this because they come to my house a couple months later. They all do, even the one from Arizona, and I'll talk about that at a different time because I'm trying to get through each child. Um, Feel free to leave messages. Um, I want to kind of do a version of you are heard, you are not judged. People are going to have opinions, but there won't. There, we're not going to have it. People put anybody in the hot seat. That's not why we're here. We're here to understand, listen, and know that we are too going through the same things. Sorry about this. Um, and we understand. We feel the weight of that loss. So if you are not subscribed, please do so. And if you would please give this video a thumbs up, that's great. If you know other people in this situation, there are so many people in this situation now. Feel free to send them my videos, my introductory video, this video, any video, or recommend them coming to my channel. That will help grow our community. And I've said this before, and I want it to be like a flower growing out of a sidewalk for us, just for us, to help us. So thank you for coming, and bye.